And God, there was a team of this community that you took to the other side of the border. You kept us safe, going, coming. You allowed us to experience glimpses of you all along the way. God, I thank you for their faithfulness to just step out and say, indeed, here am I, send me. I'll go. I don't necessarily know what I'm getting into. God, I got to be honest with you. I didn't know what I was getting into when I took my white Tahoe down there into a rainy, muddy place, and it was caked with mud all the way through it. And my anxiety was like, holy cow. But God, you allowed us to experience some amazing things this weekend when we were together. And so we thank you for it. We thank you for bringing Desiderio and Naomi to us safely so that they could literally stand here with us as we celebrate together this morning. In your precious name we pray. Amen. Well, let me just introduce you to everybody all the way around in case you don't know them. I'll start down on this end. So we have George and Jan Waterman, who are active members, like I said, here. Jan teaches in our kids area. They are the ones that founded the camp down at Camp Ebamonos. Desiderio and his sweet bride, Naomi, they are with us from the church that we worked with, that our church helped facilitate some children's space for this last fall. We got to have celebration with them. They're getting it in reverse, except we didn't have Yolanda with us. So we sat in celebration with them, and it was all in Spanish with George. So he was trying to translate it. We just decided we couldn't catch enough of it anyway, so we enjoyed it in God's language. This is my sweet friend Yolanda. Yolanda and I have worked together before at some churches. She works with Richard and Ann as well, on some of their trips, and so she's here to be our professional translator for us. Y'all know who this is my much better half, in case you don't. My sweet bride and Ed and Jen Sikevich, and their son Alec, who wasn't able to be with us, but he also came as well as a 16-year-old. So let me just give you an idea travel-wise. One of the reasons I love this trip is because you can look like this. There you go. We don't have to pack into planes. We can just pack into a car. We took an entire team in 2 vehicles. It was simple, loaded it up. Everything we took, got across the border, no problems. Even in my Tahoe this particular time. We learned last time that Tahoes are the drug cartel of choice vehicle. And so he rolled right on through, and they were like checking mine, taking panels off the car, looking in the cooler. I'm like, what's the deal? He goes, all the drug cartels drive Tahoes, so good luck with that. He took off. He didn't do that. But we love the travel because there's community. We had a great time in conversation, just getting to know one another and people on the team and some of that conversation. And in a simple 4 hours, we were literally at the border, probably 4 hours and 45 minutes because Whataburger took a little while to get your food where we stopped to have dinner on the way. But tell us a little bit then, one of the questions a lot of people are going to have is facilities, right? So, okay, so you're taking me to Mexico. What am I staying in? What is it going to look like? It's not JoJo's Palace either, by the way, Casey, so over in Zambia. But tell us a little bit about the facilities. They got some pictures up there. They can see some. So,
is this on?
It's on.
Hello. Can you hear me? Good. We built this thing over about 10 years, and right now we can sleep 84 people. We have several different dormitory configurations, from rooms that sleep 10 people each and other rooms that sleep 6 people each. And so depending on the size of the group and the mix of males and females, we can pretty much accommodate any kind of mixture of males and females and kids and all that kind of thing. We get questions about the safety on the place. We have our own water purification system, and so all the water on the camp is purified. The water that comes out of the sinks, the water that comes out of the showers, and if you would care to dip out of the toilet, that would be purified as well. And we also have American-style septic systems, so the old stigma of not being able to flush toilet paper goes away. So we use American-style septic systems on the camp. And the dormitories are all heated and air-conditioned. I know that makes it rough on you. And we do have a full function kitchen where we provide breakfast in the morning. We provide a lunch for the groups that go out to work at the various churches in the afternoon. And we also have hot meals for supper. And our staff prepares them and cleans up. You have to do nothing except concentrate on what you're there for. So all of our beds are, of course, twin-size beds, bunk beds, so we don't have the luxury of king-size beds and everything, but we pride ourselves on being a very comfortable place to stay.
That was one of the interesting things when you get there. It's, you know, a lot of these camps and places are literally trying to take some of us into consideration when they build a camp. It's like, all right, if you're going to bring your family, we want you to have some AC, we want you to have heat, you know, to try to make it as family-friendly as they can. The water, my wife's a water snob, and she didn't complain about the water. It was actually purified, and she is a water snob. Yeah, she's always got to have filtered water, and so it was great to do that. Talk about water. Let's talk food, something that's a little important to me. You know, what was food like? What would you guys say food was like there?
Olga was a tremendous cook. Even Alec made the comment that her food was some of the best he's ever had.
And he's a 16-year-old.
He's a 16-year-old, and he really loved her cooking. She made this chicken dish where she put chicken and peppers and onions in some aluminum foil and baked it with these spices, and it just fell off the bone, and it was phenomenal. It was just really wonderful. So the accommodations were beyond what we expected.
Yeah, I'll echo that.
Why'd you hand that to the big fella?
To the big fella, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can't you tell? But no, to echo what Jen said, Alec was absolutely in awe, as I was as well. I mean, Olga was an unbelievable chef. Can we have her here in San Antonio? Maybe we can open up Olga's down the street. I'll help man it all day long.
George and Jan said no. She's got to stay and cook at camp. Sorry.
Not even for a fee?
No.
But anyway, no, it was awesome, guys, and we would encourage all of you to come and enjoy that, too.
Time in there, anything?
Just on the food, she allowed me to come in the kitchen and watch them make tamales, which was really interesting because I've never seen it actually done. And I'm not a big fan of tamales because of all the mesa, but boy, hers were really good. I wanted more. I had 4, okay, and I never eat that many, and they were really good. She just has a heart for serving others, and you can see that in her food and taste it in her food. They talked about somebody trying to market her salsa once, and that upset her because that's not what she cooks for. What she cooks for is for God and to serve others, and that's important to her, and you can tell that. So food-wise, it was wonderful, and she was wonderful.
And it was family style, so it's pretty neat. You know, however many people you take, you all sit at tables, and then there's just bowls up there, and you send somebody to the window, and it all comes, and it's pitched till you win. She just keeps bringing food until you just don't want food anymore, and you finally take the flag down and say, hey, stop, I'm done, you know. And I had never seen tamales either. I just tell you how gullible I was. I thought the thing that the tamales were in, like, already came pre-done. So I walked into the kitchen, and she's like, hey, we're making tamales, and Sylvia's trying to tell me, hey, you know, check it out, we're making tamales. I'm like, well, what are you spreading on the, I mean, I knew the husk thing, I got that, but I figured you just laid a tortilla down there and filled it and rolled it. I had no idea that you actually spread that stuff in there as a deal. So it was really an interesting thing to watch, and those were awesome. And it's really sweet when you're the pastor, because you get extra special ones. So I got ones that had bacon in mine along the side. They were to the side. I was like, yes. Tell me funding-wise, and I know you know, you can chime in a little bit here, George, but for you guys as a family, for us as a family, what was the funding experience like in terms financially? Because I know we got a lot of young families, and so trying to figure out cost-wise, is this something we could do?
Oh, yeah, for us, we were absolutely amazed at the price. I mean, guys, it was only $75 per person, and that covered all of our accommodations, all of our travel, and all of our food. And to me, $75, you know, we spend that so easily on just stuff here in America. And I really applaud Jen and George for being able to provide that through God's grace for a really inexpensive way. There's always ways that we can do that. And I just encourage everybody to kind of open up their hearts and say, you know, for $75, you know, do I go away to a Spurs weekend or whatever the case might be, and you know, go into our pockets and say, I'll go help some people in Mexico. It was an amazing experience for us, and the price is extremely affordable, guys.
Is it time for the disclaimer?
Sure.
That was a special deal.
Oh, there we go.
It was a special deal because they were coming down to actually do work for us on our facility at our camp. So we didn't charge as much as we normally do. Normally, the cost is, most groups come down for an entire week, and it costs them $150 for the entire week. And on top of that would be the additional cost of whatever building projects that they were working on at the various different churches. So the usual cost is $20 a day plus, or $150 a week, and then plus the building material. So we will structure that for whatever the group wants and where they're going to work.
So George,
Yeah.
no disclaimer necessary because you figure you do the math, it's still cheaper than the 75.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't include your transportation down there and back. That's purely the cost of the camp, so you still have to get
Cool.
there and back.
And so they drove and I drove so that you didn't have any transportation.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so,
That's awesome.
but it's still pretty reasonable.
We're trying to create opportunities for us as families to be able to plug in and do something without having to break the bank, or without having to have this stigma that there's no way I could come up with $4,000 to go to Argentina, which I'll hit at the very end today, because we don't come up with that either. God provides that in some other ways.
Also, the cost of the trips is to pay for the trips itself. It pays for the food, it pays for the electricity, it pays for the cooks. There's no administration fee for our organization in there at all. Our salary and the camp and maintenance and all that kind of stuff is supported by donations from other people. So all the money you pay for a trip goes for that trip.
And what's really neat is it's employing Hispanic folks down in Mexico. So, I mean, all those funds are actually supporting economy and that kind of thing as well. Jan, tell us a little bit about a daily schedule. So if we pack up and come for the weekend, what did every day sort of look like?
I got my schedule here.
She's our drill sergeant.
No.
And George will leave you, by the way. We found out. So
I just want to say one of the things is the vision that Aron had was not just for Americans to come, but for Mexicans to come for retreats too. And at first, because we were there, it was all Americans. But now, since the Americans got afraid, there's Mexican groups coming almost every weekend. And they, just to see how they love being there, whenever we go there and they're there, they're hugging us like crazy, thank you, thank you, thank you. So just wanted to tell you that we would love to have the Americans, but we also love the Mexicans. It's twofold. All right, now, our group, we got up at 8 o'clock. We had work projects in the morning, then we had lunch, work projects in the afternoon, and then we had a break and 6 o'clock dinner. On Saturday, 2 of the pastors that we work with came, and they gave, one of them was Desiderio, and they gave a little talk about their ministry, how they became in ministry, and they answered questions, and they all got to know them better. Sunday we had a devotion, and then we got back into work projects. The devotion was at 8 o'clock along with breakfast. We had work projects in the morning and lunch, and then we cleaned up. And then at 2 o'clock, we took them around to a tour of some of the places in Reynosa. And we then went to Desiderio's and had dinner at 5 o'clock. And then we had a celebration at his church. That's right, at 6 o'clock. And Monday we did breakfast again at 7, departed at 8 for the school, which turned out to be, we were just going to take them there and show them the school. We've in our years down there, which wasn't totally 30. I mean, we were old, but not quite that much. But along with building the camp, we built 3 churches and 2 schools. And so the school we were going to is just to show them the school. Well, we ended up, the principal knew we were coming, and so he organized the graduation. And so he wanted George and I to pass out the diplomas. So that took from, we thought maybe 15 minutes, so that went on for about an hour and a half, I think. But it was good, and we loved it, and anyways, then we went to Olga's oldest son and his wife have a daycare, school, kindergarten, and it's all run by funds from wherever they can get it. And basically, the piñatas you will see out there, the women make them and sell them. They sell clothing and stuff, anything that they can. They get donations from Mexico as well as the United States.
So it wasn't too early. I mean, 8 o'clock breakfast, except on Monday, and we got up a little bit extra early.
Every group that comes, they just tell us, we don't have if they want, like this group, they wanted breakfast at 7 every day because they were going out into Desiderios' place. And so she'll go along with whatever you want.
Awesome. Well, we talked a little bit about work projects. Tell us about how you spent your day on Saturday and then Sunday morning, you guys. They'll get to see a few pictures, so you won't get to lie a whole lot.
We did some routine maintenance on the building. We were changing out some fluorescent light bulbs and trying to get them to come back on. About half of them were out. So it was pretty dark in such a big room in the whole kitchen area, too. It was difficult for the ladies to cook with half the light that they're used to. And so we got that place brightened up, and it made such a big difference. There were doors that needed to be repaired. A lot of the wood rots really fast there. And so we had to replace some of the door jambs, and there was some drywall patching that I did in one of the dormitories. We had to fix Olga's front door on the house that she stays in on the property because the rain would just flood her kitchen every time it came in. And so we reworked and put some weather stripping on that door jamb, and I hope it's working fine. Is it good? Awesome. And around the Chapel La Capilla, that also had water issues, and so we did a lot of caulking around there too.
Yeah, that picture of me with that, Ken's like, turn around, take a picture. I have insulation coming in my face. I mean, it's not a good photo op, okay?
That just all depends on your perspective.
No, not a good photo op. But next time, goggles. I'm going to bring safety glasses because I didn't know I was going to have a big piece they cut the insulation per tile, and instead of laying it one piece, so every time you took down a piece of tile, you took down a piece of insulation with it, and it was wet because that's why we were replacing it. So heavy, wet, nasty insulation and tile was a lot of fun when you're standing on a 20-foot ladder. Ceilings are pretty tall, but it wasn't anything that I couldn't do. We got Alec up there for after our arms got tired. It's like, okay, it's your turn, get up there. So we take turns doing that depending on how heavy our arms got. And he was great crawling up on the bunk beds when we went into the dorm rooms to do that. I wasn't about to crawl up on the bunk beds and try to change out those fluorescent bulbs. But he's afraid of spiders, found that out, which was fun to watch. But the labor wasn't, it wasn't hard. And it was fun getting to know everybody on the team as we worked together and got to talk. That's a part of being on the mission field, too, is getting to know those that you're serving beside and hearing their story and where their heart is. So getting to know Jen and their family and Ed, and even George and Jan. I hadn't ever had a chance to really sit and visit with them like Ken has. So it was nice to get to know everybody on the team.
Yeah, see if you can throw picture 15 up there, Josh. That's probably the one with Jan with a light bulb. See, we tried to make sure that we caught both of them in action. So there's one that proves Jan was doing some work while we were there. And this 16 is as close as we could get with George. That's all you got. He went to the tool bag once, but somebody has to be the general to make sure everybody's got their projects. So that was as close as we could get to making sure George had and you can't even see it. So you're not even willing to work hard enough to make that happen. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't believe we even got that much.
I know. We had to stage it in order to even get one going. Worship on Sunday was fantastic. We got an opportunity to go and participate in celebration at their church. Jen, do you want to tell us just real quick a little bit about that?
She's phenomenal.
I wrote a novel. Even though it was in Spanish, my Spanish is very limited, but Pastor Desiderio is pretty good about being animated. And I remember him talking about your heart being filled with the love of Jesus, and his arms were going like this, like the love is just supposed to pour out of you. It's not about the words, it's not about what you absorb, but what you do with that. And I just remember him saying the word lleno el corazón, and just the overflowing love of Christ. Another thing that I loved when they first started the services is they would allow the people to stand up and tell what God was doing in their lives. And, you know, we can try to see God, to hear God, to feel God, but it's through other people and how he works through other people that just reinforces those little things where you think, you know, is that God working in my life? And when you hear other people's testimonies, that's really how we see and touch and feel God. And so it was a blessing to us to hear these people stand up and hear them get so excited about all the things that God's doing in their lives. And our son Alec, he got pretty overwhelmed that night when we were walking through the town. He just couldn't grasp the poverty that he saw because he's used to this. And so he didn't want to go down to the service because he was pretty distraught about it. He said, I don't want to be here anymore. And hearing the people and their praises just showed me that they don't know what they don't have, and they are so thrilled to have what they do have, that they're not missing what we have because they're not expecting it. And George made the point, too, that, you know, we can say, yeah, we're blessed because we have these beautiful houses, and, you know, we have running water and electricity and, you know, a roof over our head that doesn't leak. And then we go to these completely impoverished colonias where the people have nothing. And how can we say that we're blessed and they're not because they don't have all the stuff we have? You know, blessings are not found in the material things. And so that was really a big impact that Alec realized. After the service, this little boy Alonzo brought this little paper flower out to me. And the children colored while they were in their Kids Connection. And I brought some of the little colorings that they brought to us. There's another one. Oh. And then this is Alonzo. He colored his name for us so we wouldn't forget. And it was just a beautiful time. And even though we didn't speak the same language, the language of the love of Christ is international. So it was very impactful for all of us.
I couldn't have said that better, Jen. That was awesome. With regards to Alec, when he was going through his challenging time, it really affected me in an unbelievable way, and I knew God was working in us both. And he was really whimpering and crying upstairs, and he did not want to go down to the service. So I just asked everybody to just go and leave, and I just remained silent in prayer while he was crying. And it just blows my mind how we always try to figure things out ourselves. As a father, I tried so hard to figure out what to say to my son. I couldn't find the words. So something came upon me, and it was the Holy Spirit and saying, just be quiet. Just know that I'm there. And I just sat, and Alec came out of it, and he goes, I'm ready to go downstairs now. And he went downstairs, and, you know, he had a really good time, and he met some fellow musicians as part of the band, and, you know, he was just kind of orchestrating it all. We were just little puppets on a string. And I want to send George a public thank you, too, and a blessing, because there was a time where Alec was struggling on the second day, and he didn't want to be there. Typical 16-year-old, I want to be home on the weekends and relaxing, and high school's so busy and all this stuff, and I didn't want to be there, he said. And as a father, again, I had no words for him. So we just completed breakfast, and we were out to go to do all of our work, and I was at my wit's end. As a father, I didn't know what to say, so I just said, Lord, it's all yours. So we proceeded to walk out, and lo and behold, we're walking down, and George pops out, and I said a quick silent prayer. I said, God, use George. I'm done. And George and Alec had about a 15, 20-minute conversation because Alec's searching, and he's looking for who this God person is. You know, who is Christ? He just doesn't know. And they had a wonderful, I stepped back, and I felt like it was like an out-of-body experience because now here's George and Alec talking in such a wonderful way, and he's asking questions of George, and George is really professing the Bible and really talking God's words into Alec. And he got Alec to laugh and smile. And his own father couldn't even do that.
That'd been the first time in a day and a half for Alec.
Yeah, and then after that, guys, it was all, Alec was excited. Granted, he was at every meal on time, in fact, early, but that's a 16-year-old hungry big boy. So anyway, without further ado, I just wanted to share that and pass it on to somebody else.
That's awesome. And we took a tour that afternoon, got to see kind of the highs and lows of Reynosa. You realize it's not much different than our city. There's plenty of wealth in various areas of Reynosa, just as there is in San Antonio, and there was plenty of impoverished folks. Monday morning we got up. We did get to go to the school. I think he put the pictures up there a minute ago of the graduation and passing out. I'll tell you what was really cool was watching George and Jan walk into a school that they built and established years ago and hear our parents that were children in that very first year they opened the school, walking their own children into the school to put them in school. They only can hold 400 children or so in the school. Registration starts and they line up in the middle of the night. You're just hoping that you can get to be one of the 400 that will hold. And what was the cost again? I forgot. He told us for an annual tuition for the school.
I forgot. I think it's in the area of just a couple $100 for the
Yeah, it's like $140, $150 for the year to put your child in the school. The 400 spaces fill up and they're finished. So we had a blast at the school. We hooked up with Willie, with Olga's son, and he took us on a tour of ministry. They had, I think that was one of my most impactful times, was getting to see the little school beside the railroad tracks. So we drove through a field to get there, cross railroad tracks, and you're literally thinking, where in the world are we going? Because it was muddy too. It had rained all week, so that the mud is up to the bottom of your car and you're driving. We cross these tracks, and there are people that are squatting because they can't afford land, waiting for them to bring electricity and water. And so they have established a school. And you'll see pictures of these children in the school. They eat one meal a day. Churches come, bring it. It's called brunch. It was 2 tacos. You'll see the children literally praying for it. There's the bathroom that they have there at the school by the river, or by the railroad track, that has a restroom in it. Go ahead and flip to the next couple pictures. This was really cool. Those are the piñatas. You'll see that we're getting ready to break those. One of the neat things is they said, let's support the economy right here. So we bought 2 of the piñatas. They're teaching the moms how to make them so they can sell them. So they're full of candy. So kiddos, we're getting ready to go break 2 of them and have a pre-lunch snack before you get there in just a minute. And then what was really neat, roll on down to the ones with the pallets. They've decided to start collecting pallets and learn to build things so they can sell them. So there's a chair, there's a bench on the next one, and a chair, and then check this out. There's bunk beds. And they're learning how to take pallets, which are throwaway things, and put them into a product. And they're teaching that community how to build those and how to sell them. So it was just a really fantastic little 3-day stretch that we had there. I asked Desiderio to kind of close us out and to share 2 things with us. One would be, what is he most excited about that God is doing there in the church in Mexico, specifically in Reynosa? And secondly would be, what is the greatest challenge that they face in sharing the gospel and reaching the people there? So, and Yolanda's going to translate as he shares.
Bueno, primeramente, buenos días.
First of all, good morning to everybody.
Es una alegría poder estar aquí con ustedes y conocerles.
It is joyful time for us to meet and greet you.
Trataremos de decir en pocas palabras parte del trabajo que hemos hecho.
We'll try to say as much as possible with the little words that I have to share what God is doing.
Pues ha habido diferentes trabajos en nuestra comunidad.
There's been different projects in our community.
Hemos trabajado con un comedor precisamente del hermano George Warman.
We have worked with George, and this one place was like a feeding place.
En una colonia donde es el basurero de la ciudad.
Where the particular colony is called Colonia. They're townships where they feed people.
Hay una experiencia muy especial en mi
There's a
corazón.
beautiful experience that we have had in this particular area.
Este comedor se daba comida todos los días
In this particular location, we give food every day
en la mañana.
in the morning.
Y una vez fui a arreglar mi carro.
One day I went to go fix my car.
Y cuando estaba arreglando el carro,
When I was fixing it,
alguien se me quedó viendo
somebody was staring at me,
y me dijo, ¿se acuerda de mí, pastor?
and he told him, "Do you remember me,
Yo
Pastor?"
dije, no muy bien, ¿quién eres?
"No, I don't remember you. Who are you?"
Me dice, yo era de aquellos niños
"I was one of those children you fed,"
que estaba yendo a comer.
and that is now watching him.
Me abrazó
He gave him a hug.
y me dijo, gracias,
He told him, "Thank you,"
porque en ese tiempo me ayudaste bastante.
because during that time it was very difficult and you helped me.
Otra experiencia también que tenemos es en Reynosa hay un hospital
Another experience that we have is helping a hospital in Reynosa.
donde vienen de diferentes lugares
And people come to this hospital from different locations.
y siempre hemos sentido un amor
We've always felt a love for these people,
hacia las familias que están afuera del hospital.
especially these families that are away from this hospital.
Y siempre tratamos de llevar unas cobijas
We always try to take some blankets,
y por 7 años
and for 7 years,
hemos estado dando
we have been giving them
café
coffee
y algunas cosas.
and some things to eat.
Déjeme dar un testimonio de esto.
And let me give you a testimony of this.
Cuando damos café y damos comida a las personas,
When we give coffee and food to these people,
tengo lo que es comunicación con la familia
I have communication with this family.
y con los guardias que son los que cuidan la entrada y salida del hospital.
And there are guards that work as vigilant over this hospital, the incomings and goings.
Les damos también un taco.
And these guards, we give them a taco.
En una ocasión una mujer
In one occasion, this one woman,
me dice, por favor, ¿puedes orar por mi esposo?
this woman asked, "Can you pray for my husband?
Tiene cáncer.
He has been diagnosed with cancer."
Y yo entré,
I went to her.
hablé con él,
I talked to him.
presenté a Jesús.
I presented Jesus to him.
Y él dijo, ahora no.
The man said, "Not right now."
3 días más
3
tarde,
days later,
a las 11 de la noche,
at 11 o'clock that night,
habla a mi teléfono.
he calls me.
Y la misma persona, la esposa del hombre
And the
enfermo,
same woman, the wife of this man, is calling.
me dice, ¿puedes venir?
"Can you come to the hospital to see my husband?"
Mi esposa le digo, vamos.
My wife said, "Yes,
Honey.
we need to go."
Manejé hasta el hospital en mi carro
I drove all the way to the hospital in my car,
y yo venía pensando en el camino,
and I was thinking on my way,
¿cómo voy a entrar al hospital?
how am I going to get into the hospital?
No soy doctor,
I'm not a doctor.
es difícil,
It's very difficult to gain
pero
entry,
iba orando.
but I kept on praying.
Cuando entro al hospital,
When I go into the hospital,
el hombre que cuida la puerta
the guard right there who takes care of the door
era un amigo mío,
was a friend of mine.
le daba unos tacos
We had been feeding him.
y entramos.
He said, "Go on in."
Amen.
Lo hermoso,
The beautiful part of
cuando
this,
llegué,
when I arrived,
el hombre estaba casi muriendo.
the man was almost dying.
Oré con él,
I prayed with him.
se entregó a Cristo
He trusted Christ,
y murió en mis brazos.
and he died in my arms.
Cómo Dios abre puertas
It's amazing how God
para
opens
tocar
doors
esas vidas.
so to touch those lives.
Hay muchas experiencias,
Of course, there's so many experiences.
pero mi pasión más grande
My biggest passion,
es seguir alcanzando a la comunidad.
trying to reach out to the community.
Hay un plan muy grande.
God has a big plan.
Queremos conseguir una traila
We're trying to get a trailer
para cada mañana
for every morning
dar un taco,
to give somebody a taco,
un folleto,
a little tract,
y que Dios siga tocando la vida de esas
and
personas.
through that, God will continue touching lives.
Porque eso es lo que Dios nos manda.
That's what God is asking us to do.
Estar ahí en esos momentos difíciles.
Be there in the difficult times.
Quizás no toda la gente vaya a nuestra iglesia,
Maybe not everybody comes to my church,
pero no compartimos una religión.
but we are not sharing a religion.
Compartamos el amor de Cristo.
We are sharing the love of Christ.
Para mí es lo más importante.
For me,
ahora.
that's the most important thing.
Y seguir orando por nuestra iglesia.
Please continue praying for our church.
Nuestra iglesia está cerca de la prisión.
Our church is very close to the prison.
Hay familias que están viajando de diferentes partes de México
Many families come
y
from different parts of Mexico.
tienen que vivir cerca de la prisión.
They have to live near the prison.
Entonces siempre estoy conociendo familias nuevas,
I'm always learning about and meeting different families.
jóvenes
Very young people,
que no entienden
people that don't understand
por qué su papá está en la prisión,
why is their father in the prison.
pero ellos están viniendo a la iglesia.
But they're coming to church.
Uno de ellos
One of them,
en estos momentos,
in this very
su
moment,
nombre es Víctor
his name is Victor.
y estamos teniendo amor hacia él
We're showing the love
su
of Christ
familia.
towards him and his
y se
family.
siente bien.
And he feels better. He's doing better.
Está siendo parte del grupo de los jóvenes.
He is part now of the youth.
Apoyó mucho a este grupo de
And he
ellos.
also supported this last group that went to us.
Sí, Víctor, no sé.
He got to share a lot with us as we sat at dinner. And I guess my continued prayer is could something like this be our story? And if not Mexico, could it be to Argentina? This summer in July, we had a team in Zambia last year. Could it be in Uganda in early July this summer? Would you say, hey, God, if you want to call me to be your hands and feet, I will respond? Whether that's with somebody in our family, maybe we just need the courage because there's somebody in our own family that has yet to experience Jesus' love and grace, and he's calling us. A coworker, a neighbor that's living on either side of us, or it might be, hey, it's time for us and our family to make sure that we have a passport so that we could say yes. And we may not know how God's going to fund us to go to Argentina or to Uganda or to somewhere crazy. And I can tell you, that anybody that's been can tell you incredible stories about how God has put that together. And very few are actually writing that check. But money is the number one reason most people don't go. Oh, I can't afford it. But would you just say, God, I'll put myself in position. I'll get a passport. I'll get ready, and I'll start to pray. And God, if you want me to be your hands and feet, and I can come tell a story like this, that we would simply say yes, and we would step in faith and in obedience in that fashion. That's my prayer. It's a continued prayer for me, and it's a prayer for us. And so I thought one of the ways we could end today's celebration would be if we could just kind of all get them to go right down to the front. So if you want to just go ahead and go that way. And you guys just go ahead and get out, and let's just pray over Desiderio and Naomi as we wrap up our time today.